Welcome to the Creator Tutorials podcast. We got on Travis Robbins today. Travis, tell us what you're up to.
My name is Travis Robbins, and I will be the first person to walk the world's longest walkable road, which goes from Cape Town, South Africa, all the way up to Magadan, Russia. It's about 14,000 miles and across 16 countries.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. So he's walking the longest continuous walking trail in the entire world. Is that right?
Yes.
And how did you even come up with this idea to do this? You said no one else has done it before?
Right. No, it was discovered back in 2019 on Reddit. Some dude made a post about it, but I was doing a networking event and this lady sent me this article that Global Rescue did on debunking the world's longest walkable road. So when I was reading through that, it seemed like a really fun thing to do, like an adventure. And honestly, it was calling out to me like the call to adventure. But I didn't really think about it as much for a couple months because I thought it would be impossible. And that's also what several other articles had said about it. So when I started thinking about how it could be possible and started doing the planning, the pieces just started coming together. And I realized that it was my calling. So I just continued pursuing that.
Do you have experience? Are you a through hiker, or do you have experience hiking really long trails, or what compelled you to do something like this?
It was a combination of several different things, going through like personal development and wanting to do something with my life, because I pretty much did nothing with my life for the longest time, just trying to figure out what to do and going with the motions, basically. I was in the military for 4 years. I was in the Marine Corps, and we did some rock hiking and other things like that, but it was never to that extent. And probably one of the better hikes that I have done was the Mount Katahdin. I hiked Mount Katahdin with a buddy of mine on boot leave. So that was one of the few times I've actually done some hiking. But no, this is the first time I'll ever do something like this.
First time doing something like this, people are like, whoa, Travis, you're biting off a lot here. Walk me through. I don't know. You said you thought it wasn't possible, and then you realize, hey, it might be. I can think of like so many, I'm sure you can too, right? So many possible issues. But what were the things that said like, okay, I think I can do this, right?
I did the math. And on the blogs that talked about the road that kind of described how long it would take and whatnot, it'd be like 524 days of hiking 8 hours a day consistently. And that did not seem plausible to me. So I added a day in. So basically hiking 20 miles a day, 6 days a week, resting 1 day a week, and doing that repeatedly over time. So it'd be about 117 weeks and 4 days, which that seems very plausible. Obviously hiking 20 miles a day is a bit strenuous, but that's what the training comes in for. Just doing that on repeat and keeping the mindset, the mental framing of it's just going to be a long time. And I'm going to meet a lot of amazing people along the way. So that's going to make it shorter in some sense.
Walk me through what you're doing to prepare for the trip.
So a lot of it is logistical planning, figuring out where I'm going to be at what times and so on and so forth, and who I should be connecting with along the way. So whether that is tourism organizations throughout the route or NGOs to help serve the local communities, but also walking every day. I started walking a couple miles a day just to kind of get into the habit of walking. And then I bumped that up a mile, bumped up to about 4 to 5 miles a day, doing that 6 days a week. So I'm getting the consistency, but also the feeling of walking for multiple hours a day. So it's not a lot of training as far as I know. It's a lot of walking, but it's not something like a 100-mile race that, like David Goggins training for months doing stuff like that. It's not that extreme. So that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you understand that, the trip is going to be incredibly grueling. And I guess you're talking about that spirit of adventure that you have and you want to do something with your life. So tell me more about that, man. Like I have that same thing where I want to go out and do big things and live a life worth living type of thing. So out of all the different things you could do in the world or in life, this one connected with you. Why do you think that is?
I've always wanted to check out Africa because I've heard many stories about it. It's has a ton of historical significance. I also love animals and being out in the wild, which I was pretty much always outside when I was a kid, outside in the woods, running around, going all over the place and so on and so forth. So I'm very passionate about being outside. So I enjoy being outside like that, but also learning from different people about how their culture works. I got the chance to travel to the UK and Ireland back in high school and learn about the different cultures over there and the historical significance of things and just learning about the people and about their history and so on and so forth. And then before the military, I went to Rome to visit a friend of mine from high school. So there was more of that learning from other people and their history and their culture. And then in the military, I got to go to South Korea for a year. That was my first duty station. So I learned a little bit more about the people there, their culture, their history, seeing the sights. And every time I've traveled, it has been the best experience of my life. So that kind of added another piece to the puzzle for me. And with this, it is such a long adventure, massive adventure, that it's almost like an initiation, so to speak. Up until the beginning of last year, I was a pretty terrible person, subjectively, but really, I just didn't do a whole lot of things because I didn't have a lot of direction or orientation in life. And over the past year and a half, I've come to have a lot more focus, a lot more desire to do something specific. And this walk is kind of like the doorway to emerge into what my life is meant for. So it's kind of like the initiation, basically stepping into manhood or adulthood. So it's getting back to doing something outside of the normal to find out who you are and then starting something for your life.
I think it's great, man. I think about the William Blake quote, great things happen when men and mountains meet. Great thing happens when men and mountains meet. And I think why I'm so connected with what you're doing and why I'm so excited for you and supportive is because I've had that same thing where I have to give myself a big mountain to climb to inspire myself to get up and out of my funk and have a big challenge that feels impossible or maybe even life-threatening, putting myself in a corner so I can finally come alive and connect with that primal part of myself that just wants to live because we live in we live in a society. Where's the adventure? The job, make money, where is it? Go to the movies, right? There's no adventure. And so I really connect with what you're doing because it is a big, big adventure. It is a big mountain to climb. And when you're successful at it, it's going to be something that you'll look back on for the rest of your life and no way that you'll be disappointed. Because I've gone on big trips in my life. I moved out to Japan. I biked halfway across Japan. I went on backpacking trips and did some really cool things. And they were the most transformative, amazing experiences of my life. Mm-hmm. And I just am like working now so I can go back and do some of these amazing things because they are expensive.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about that, Travis. Finances. Wow, this is a big trip. How are you supporting your adventure? Are you doing a Kickstarter or how are you getting the word out there? Because this is a big thing. I'm sure people want to travel along with you on the journey. So we'll talk about, how people can stay connected with you on your journey. But how are you raising money? How are you figuring out the finances and the logistics of everything?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Kickstarter because I was looking into Kickstarter, but I don't meet the criteria to start a project on there because I'm not an organization or a school or anything like that. I was using GoFundMe for a while and I'd raised a few $100 on that, which I didn't push it hard. So nobody really knew about it, but it actually got closed because of sanctions against an unsupported country and violating the terms of service. That was fun. So I got to figure out some other ways in that regard, but I am writing a book called All Walks of Life. It's kind of the story leading up to the walk. And it's a better explanation, a more in-depth explanation to like, why would you do this? Well, there's a lot of history that goes into it. So there's the book. I'm also working on like a subscription-based individual sponsor type thing. So whether it's Patreon or just having a personal sponsorship kind of thing, that's going to be available if people want to support me. And also looking into certain companies and businesses that I resonate with, but our missions and our goals are in alignment so that there's a possibility for corporate sponsorship. So working into that realm as well.
Yeah. I think some of the big outdoor brands, Patagonia, Mountain Hardwear, North Face, these people should be getting behind you because, like you said, it's never been done before. So that's really cool. When I think about this journey, you're traveling across a ton of countries. I think about visa issues. You're crossing a lot of countries, some of them maybe hostile to Americans. How are you dealing with all of that?
Yeah, so the visa stuff, I started looking into it. There was a platform I was using. I don't remember what it's called, Visa to Visas or something like that, just to check out the visa requirements for every country. And at least going into South Africa, I'm not required to have a visa. So that's it. That's helpful. Start out the journey right away. But the other countries along the way, they do have visa requirements. And for Russia, I'm going to have to request to get invited into the country and then get a special kind of visa because I'm going to be there for longer than 30 days. So that's some stuff I'll have to work out with the Russian government. And for the hostile territories, I'm not really worried about them for some reason. I've been asked this question and I haven't been able to come up with a good reason other than this is what my life is meant for. So I know I'm going to get through it because I don't see it as something I'm going to be doing. For me, it's already completed and I'm just catching up to it.
Wow. Tell me more about that, man. Wow. Why do you feel so called and compelled? Is it just a feeling? Is it a vision that you had or just a deep maybe feeling that this is the right thing for you? Because I have that in my life where usually mine comes in like a visualization. When I can see it, it's done. Mm-hmm. When I see it, it's done. So is it a similar thing with you or it kind of came to you or is it just something that's really in your heart or like you said, you kind of feel like you've already done it? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a combination of a few things because last year I actually served time in jail last year for a couple of DUIs in 2021. So during that time, it was actually the 7th day in jail where I was reading books because I had plenty of time on my hands. And one of the books that I was reading was the New Testament because why not? I'd grown up in a Christian family, didn't really understand it, but figured it was a good time to just read it and kill some time. But it was really speaking to me and it turned me around, so to speak. It was the come to Jesus moment. And after that, when I got out, I started my online business for operational consulting and thought that was going to be what I was going to be doing. So excited for that. I was like, this is it. And then after a few months, then it came to read about this road. And then it was more of that deep internal spark, that internal turmoil. It was like that feeling where it was kind of the heart feeling, but it was more in the gut sense and resonated with me very deeply, but didn't really think about it too much. But also going through these different aspects of personal development and trying to put my life together and ask myself the hard questions of why did I do this? Why did I do that? So on and so forth. Where did this come from? How did this evolve into that? And really having to go through and dissect my entire life to find out what I was doing with it and where I'm supposed to be going with it. And through that, I was also growing in my walk with God and strengthening my faith. And it was a really more of a directional thing, like taking a step. This is the right way to go. This is the wrong way to go. Stay on this path. And it was more of a guidance of the internal feeling of this is right, feeling it in my heart, like I'm meant for this, visualizing it, seeing like this is possible. It's not just possible, but I'm supposed to happen. Figuring out the logistics of it, like, yeah, this is logistically plausible to happen. And having that spirit guidance, so to speak, is like, yep, this is meant for you. So it was all a combination of the 5 modalities, the physical, emotional, spiritual, left brain and right brain, and it all came into alignment. So that's really what drove me to continuing on that planning.
So excited for you, man. So supportive. Want to help you out in any way I can. I'm sure people who are listening to this podcast are like, wow, they want to follow along for better or worse because they just want to see if you're going to be successful. But how can people follow this crazy journey that you're on, this big mission, this big walk that you're doing? How can we follow and stay involved?
Well, I've been getting more consistent and active on TikTok. So for sure on TikTok, and I'll eventually be more active on doing YouTube stuff and possibly Instagram. Not sure yet, but at least TikTok and YouTube for sure. So I'll be having a film crew with me, at least 1 or 2 people to help out with the video documentary aspect. But for sure, TikTok, YouTube, I think my handle is Connection Odyssey or World Walking. So one of those 2. Connection Odyssey on TikTok, World Walking on YouTube, and I might change that so they're both Connection Odyssey.
Okay, well, we'll put the links down below just to make it easy for everybody. But Travis, we're going to be talking again. I'm definitely going to be following you along your journey. Hopefully I can interview on a couple spots along the road. But I appreciate you being on here today, and good luck.
I definitely appreciate having the opportunity to be on here as well. And thank you so much. Definitely looking forward to it.